And joining me in the studio is the go-getter Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, to throw more light on the gains of the AfCFTA Summit in Abuja. You're welcome to the Network News.
Pleasure to be here. Good evening.
All right, so can you shed more light on the two tools you just launched towards further consolidation of RHE AfCFTA in Nigeria?
So this morning, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment released the inaugural version of the Nigeria Trade Intelligence Report. Now, this report is an empirical study, basically in simplified language. It tracks all that happened in the Nigerian economy in 2024 and how it has reflected on the economy in 2025. We also released Trade Insights Report, which is a half-year report of what happened in H1, the first half of 2025. Now, taken together, this is an 18-month snapshot of the Nigerian economy, from our trade relations, from our bilateral relations, to what happened with tariff headwinds across the world and how it affected the Nigerian economy, to how the diversification architecture has been paying off in our economy, all the reforms that have been undertaken by the Renewed Hope agenda. And so it's really beginning to show the inflection point that we knew 2025 would be, and data doesn't lie, the empiricals don't lie, and that's why the ministry decided to release these two reports today.
All right, talking about base diversification in the export sector, how well has your ministry done as towards that regards?
Well, it's really Nigeria. We must commend, first of all, the administration for the diversification reforms that have been put in place right from May 2023, and the Nigerian entrepreneurs, the whole ecosystem of Nigerian MSMEs and larger businesses. Our non-oil exports this year alone improved by 14% year on year. And the big shocker, although oil exports are still about 58%, the big shocker was a growth of 116% in non-oil exports, particularly led by manufacturing and agriculture.
All right, Doctor, your ministry has done so much in giving expression to the agreement, but one of the challenges to the successful implementation of it has been a sort of protectionism by participating countries and also low-level intra-African trade. How is that being addressed?
Well, this is exactly the work that the Renewed Hope agenda, by staying responsive and not reacting to the global headwinds. The administration took time to put a structure in place. Item number 7 of that agenda speaks to the diversification of Nigerian economy through non-oil exports. So you've seen the prioritization that we've put on certain commodities, on agribusiness, on manufacturing. We have a trade intelligence tool on Southern and Eastern Africa, 13 countries there. We launched our air cargo corridor in partnership with Uganda Air. And so the practical steps that we've put in place, not to mention all the work we've done on the AfCFTA, bringing that agreement to life this year, has begun to deliver the results, and it's showing in the economic statistics.
All right, so talking about air cargo corridor that you just mentioned now, that was launched earlier in the year. This is closer home for us. And why the renewed interest in the media?
Well, we've always felt that the media was an important stakeholder. All the years I've been in Abuja since 2015, the media has been a critical stakeholder throughout the PEBEC journey and now as Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Now, why bring the media as a pillar in this summit in particular? We speak to public sector, what institutions, MDAs need to be doing to actualize the AfCFTA. Talking with private sector, NASIMA and other organized private sector on what the private sector needs to do to really get the benefits of AfCFTA. And the third and critical pillar in that discussion is the media. When the press disseminate the information to Nigerians, everybody across the entire country would know the information. And the idea was to simplify the AfCFTA so that it's accessible to Nigerian people. That's really the objective.
All right, another achievement in that direction is that the African Union has recognized Nigeria as a digital trade champion. What does this portend for tech-savvy youth in the country, and what incentives do they stand to gain?
So in February this year, Nigeria was designated co-champion of the Digital Trade Protocol. This was on the back of Mr. President receiving a personal commendation at the AU Summit of Heads of States and Government. Nigeria also is the first country to approve the ratification of the Digital Trade Protocol. That was a FEC approval that we got 3 weeks ago. Now what this means is that the Digital Trade Protocol of the AfCFTA agreement is one of the first, it is the first in the world to deliver this kind of structure, this kind of depth and sophistication. Another FEC approval that we got at that same meeting was the approval of our IP policy and then our export of services, the NATEP program. So taken together, this bouquet of approvals that the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment got at the last FEC meeting delivers the practical, robust regulatory framework and legal framework for MSMEs, for startups to actualize to scale their businesses, to export their services. Services are already over 50% of Nigerian GDP and growing really fast. We're competitive in this space. Over 50% of the unicorns in Africa, that's companies that gross over $1 billion, that are valued at over $1 billion, are of Nigerian extraction. So Mr. President has said that this is where our youth are competitive. So every regulatory and legal enablement that they need, including digital public infrastructure, such as the single window intervention for trade facilitation, we're using, in a nutshell, technology to enable our economy. There are 3 types of interventions. There are businesses that are technology-led businesses. There are businesses that are enabled by technology, and then regular businesses that have automation and technology in their services bouquet.
Okay, just before I let you go, Doctor, you mentioned NATEP now, which actually caught my attention, which is the scale-up program for artisans. How far so far?
So NATEP is actually the Nigeria Export of Skills intervention. So the NATEP is the coordinator for the federal government and for the Nigerian economy. We launched a skills accelerator with the World Economic Forum just about 2 weeks ago in Lagos. And what we do here is to make sure that as different interventions across government and private sector speak to sort of outsourcing of businesses, BPOs, and all that, we create a united policy space, a coordinated policy space that Nigerian economy is able to leverage investment from global investors and African investors and domestic investors as well. So it's a framework that tidies up the regulatory and legislative space for exports of services globally.
All right, many thanks, the go-getter Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who is also proudly representing Nigeria in her green attire. Talking about Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, for your insights on the Network News.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.